Welcome everybody to MicroPitch. It's great to see you all joining us from across the Caribbean. Very glad that you can join us tonight. We have a program of training and some short presentations from our partners for you this evening. We're going to run for 2 hours. My name is Floris Vermeulen. I represent the European Investment Bank in the Southern and Eastern Caribbean. First of all, I'd like to thank our co-organizers and partners and sponsors for making this training possible. Tonight, we have to thank Frankfurt School of Finance and Management for organizing all of this for us. And our sponsors are the European Union, the United Nations Development Program, from whom you're here tonight, Caribbean Export Development Agency, who is also with us tonight, the Caribbean Climate Innovation Center, and Figaro, the e-commerce business generator. Our partners as well are Caribbean Development Bank, Compete Caribbean, the Caribbean Microfinance Alliance, Development Finance Corporation of Belize, Grenada Development Bank, St. Lucia Development Bank, and also Jamaica. I believe we have Lasco Financial Services, Development Bank of Jamaica, and also the Governor of Jamaica. Thanks to all of you, we have been able to get the word out to all of you entrepreneurs and businesses across the Caribbean. So thank you to our partners for helping spread the word and making this training possible. Tonight, the theme of the training will be business management and financial planning. Create a sound financial basis for your business. Intuitively, we all know how important this is, and probably we have a wide range of discipline and good habits or not so good habits when it comes to our financial planning, discipline, accounting, cash flow management. We have an excellent trainer for you tonight, Nicole Doctor, who I'll introduce to you shortly, who's going to give the training. But before we move on to that, I'd just like to give the floor, please, to Klaus Hesse, Anna Label, and Lucie Charrier from the Frankfurt School of Finance and Management.
Hello, good afternoon. This is Klaus Hesse speaking. Really happy to be together with you guys this afternoon in our last training session before our big pitch event in December. We will come to this back later. Thank you very much, and I hand over to Anne. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Klaus. Good afternoon also from my side. My name is Anne. I'm also part of the Frankfurt School team, which is organizing this micro-pitch. And I'm really happy to see some names that we've already seen or read for the third time, as this is our third training today. So happy to see you back here and really looking forward to the training tonight. And with that, I hand over to my colleague, Lucie.
Thank you, Anne. Thank you, Klaus. Thank you, Floris. Good afternoon, everybody. Very happy to be with you tonight and for the third MicroPitch Entrepreneurship training. So we'll be with you for 2 hours, and I give the floor back to Floris.
Thanks very much. It's thanks to all the hard work of Frankfurt School of Management that we've been able to provide technical assistance, that is like training and development, for all our financial partners across the Caribbean the last 3 years. Many of you will hopefully be familiar with Frankfurt School, either through your work with our partners, which I mentioned earlier tonight. Now, during the training, I just want to mention, we have a chat box, and please use that as a forum to share your knowledge and tips with your colleague entrepreneurs and businesses tonight. When it comes to posing questions, at the bottom of your screen, there's another button, which is the Q&A. And if you could pose your questions in the Q&A, then we'll make sure that we don't miss them, because sometimes the chat comes by quite quickly. If you pose your question in the Q&A, we'll be sure that we can answer that either in writing during the training, or we'll address it at the end as well if we think it's relevant for a broader audience. So that is just a little bit of housekeeping from our side. Please use the Q&A to pose your questions. Also, we can assure you that all the materials will be made available on the MicroPitch Caribbean website. And this whole training, you can watch it again also on the MicroPitch CB YouTube channel. Those links will be also put up in the chat at several moments. So don't worry if you miss something and you're taking notes, or you just weren't sure about a particular concept. You can watch it again and you can refer back to the presentation materials in your own time. Now it's with great pleasure that I want to introduce you, please, to Nicole Doctor, who is a senior manager of internal audit and who manages compliance, regulatory, operational, and information technology audits across banking solutions. She is a capital markets expert and as well as merchant solutions, as well as knowing about corporate governance programs. Importantly, she also works in quality assurance and improvement programs within the internal audit of a company called FIS. She's a trainer, and you might also be familiar with her for her presentations at the Institute of Internal Auditors. It's a great pleasure, Nicole. Thank you for joining us today. Without further ado, let's start the training on business management and financial planning.
Thanks, Floris. Welcome, everybody. Good night, good afternoon. Welcome to the business management and financial planning training for today. I will be sharing my screen. Okay. So as Floris said, please follow the protocols, put your questions in the chat box, and we'll answer them as we go along. So today we're going to be learning about creating a sound financial business for your business. The course outline will be looking at 3 areas: business planning, financial management, digital accounting. These are just 4 of the intended learning outcomes. Of course, if you learn more than the 4 things that are here, great, but we wanted to at least have these 4 key takeaways. We're going to show how you can develop clear and specific business goals and objectives. We're going to demonstrate understanding of key business concepts. We're going to look to improving financial performance through implementation of fundamental knowledge of business finance. And of course, being in the digital age, we're going to show you how you can implement digital solutions to adapt to changes in your business. We'll start, as I just said, with business planning. But before we start business planning, we're going to have a poll. Could you please launch the poll, Floris?
Yes, indeed. We will have a quick poll now. We want to find out where everyone is from. So on your screen right now, you should be able to see questions. The first question is, what do you think is the most important benefit of having a business plan? Please go ahead and answer that. And then we'll just share the results.
And we'll give them about a minute or until we get to 100%. Have lots of rapid participation. I love it. Almost there.
Well, I think we have a pretty clear winner in the results.
There's some pretty smart people here.
Yeah. Tell us what you see, Nicole.
I'm seeing 88% with the response of to provide a roadmap towards achieving the goals. And that is the correct response. You're typically putting together a business plan to show how you're going to achieve your goals as it relates to your business. It's helpful to you and to others as they look at your business to see how they can invest and I'll share the results as well, how they can invest and how they can support your business as you move forward. So good job on that one, guys. So we're going to talk through a business plan, and I'm not going to read everything that's on this slide. But as you think about a business plan, you're thinking about, okay, I have my business. I need to figure out what we're going to do. So the business plan is really a very important document that's going to help you figure out or document your company's strategies. It's going to show your core business activities, your objectives, the way and the way you're going to achieve those goals. So it's important for you to not just have it in your head, but to also put it on paper so you can see it. And as you write these things out, it may help you to even figure out some of the activities and develop a good approach to how you're going to get to where you want to with your business. The business plan has two broad goals. One, to assess the feasibility of the business prior to establishment. So you say, okay, I have this great idea. I'm going to set up a taxi operation in whichever part of the Caribbean you are. But is it really a good idea? By putting it down on paper, you're going to see if that is feasible. You're going to look at what your objectives are. You're going to list out, how are you going to meet those objectives? And in documenting it, you're going to come to the realization whether or not it's feasible. The business plan can also be used to seek funding. So you have an idea, but you don't have the money to get this great idea off the road. But for somebody to support you, you need to show them why your idea is this fantastic thing. You need to get buy-in from other people. So that's where the business plan is going to come into play. You're going to document it and use that to present to investors, whether it's a bank to get a loan or to other people to form a partnership even, so that you can get funding to fund your dream, your goals. The business plan, being such an important document, of course, has many elements. And here we have a list of all those elements. There won't be a quiz, so you don't need to memorize all these items here. But just to run through some of them, and we'll talk through them in a little bit more detail as we go through the rest of the slides. Of course, you're going to have an executive summary. You're going to have to think through what your vision and your mission is. You want to talk through what the company history is. And some of us may not have a company history if it's a business that's just coming off the ground, but you can talk through where you think you want your company to be. You have the business industry and the profile. You want to include, what's the industry that you're going to be in, and what's your strategy? How are you going to differentiate yourself? You want to talk about the descriptions of the products and the services. Talk about your competitors. If you have any, everybody has competitors. You just have to think through it a little bit. What's your marketing strategy? Who is going to be on your management team? How are you going to run your operations? Is it going to be a storefront? Is it going to be online only? And you're going to talk about the forecasted financial statements. You're also going to do a proposal for your loan or investment. The next few slides walk through just a summary of the elements. As it says, executive summary, it has to be concise. I know we can get carried away when we talk about our dream or big idea, but we really want to keep it concise, maximum of 2 pages. Have a little hook to capture the investor. Why is it that this is the business to invest in? What is your hook? Whether it's a catchphrase or whether it's a slogan, teamwork makes the dream work. You're gonna put together a company that's focused just on teaming, or whatever it is. It has to be concise. It should just jump off the page as to why this is the best business ever. You want to talk about your vision. What's your mission? And put that clearly defined strategy, short, simple, specific. Remember that investors are going to be looking at many of these plans. So you want yours to be short and concise and catchy, because you don't want them to get lost in a whole bunch of words. You want to talk through your company history. What's the business information? Key milestones that you've achieved. What's your company status? Is it a fledgling company? Is it on the brink of maturity, but you just need extra money? You want to put that in there as well. You want to talk through what's the industry, the business that you're going to be investing in. The environment, is it going to be in the hotel industry? Is it going to be another restaurant? Where is it going to be? What are the challenges and the opportunities? Are you going to have supply chain challenges, or are you going to source everything locally? What are the opportunities that are associated with this business that you're trying to get your funding for, or you're trying to start up? Again, we're going to look at clearly defining goals and objectives and your key business strategies. And you want to talk about the product or service that you're going to be offering. We don't want to just say we're going to open a restaurant. We want to focus on the type of restaurant. Is it going to be focused on local cuisine? What niche is it going to be? We want to put that into our products and services. If we're going to open a craft shop, what type of crafts are we going to be putting in there? Is it going to be local made? Those are the things. You want to talk about your competitors. You want to think through, know your products, your services. What are the prices that are out there? Because you have to be aware of what the competition looks like so that you can niche your product, so that you can get a part of the market as well. How are you going to market this business? Are you going to do internet marketing? Are you going to do radio marketing, television? How are you going to market it? So you need to talk through that sales strategy. What's your targeted market? Are you going to do the millennials? Are you going to do young couples? Are you going to do teenagers? You want to think through that and document it in your business plan. Who is the management team? And I'm not sure of the profile of the team that's listening to this training, but it could be a sole proprietorship. And if you're the only person that's on the management team, that's good. You document what you do, what your credentials are, what are your past achievements and your core responsibilities. If you have a bigger team, then go for it and list out what those team's credentials are, because you're selling this business to your investor to say, we're capable. So you want to put that out there to give a good profile for your management team. Your plan of operation. What are your days that you're going to be open? Your hours that you're going to be open? Is it going to be online? Is it going to be a storefront? Is it just going to be seasonal? You want to put those in there because we want to assess, how viable this business is going to be. You want to also look on financial statements, and we're going to talk about that later on in this training, your financial statements, your balance sheet, your income statement. And of course, if it's a new business, it's going to be forecasted. You don't have anything yet, but you also want to put out like a forecast for the next 2 to 3 years, because you want to project how well the business is going to do. And as you do that, it will also help you, not just investors, to gain comfort in the viability of this business and whether or not this is really a feasible thing to do. I think this is the last thing that we'll have on it, the loan or investment proposal. At the end of the day, the business plan may be primarily to get investment. So that's where you want to say, how are you going to fund the business? What's the collateral that's needed? And then you're going to talk through, if you invest in me, this is how much your return is going to be. So you want to document that and put that in your business plan as well. Here are a few guidelines for preparing your business plan. And we spoke through some of them as I was talking just now. You need to set your business plan apart. It's going to be the person who really captures that investor's attention. You don't want to fall into that Me Too trap to say, yeah, I'm gonna open another taxi stand. I'm gonna open another craft shop. I'm gonna open another Airbnb, another bed and breakfast. You want a niche. You want to have a business plan that's going to show how your business is going to be different and why this business is going to succeed. Of course, you want to identify your target market. You can't just say you're going to serve everybody. Niching is what is going to be key right now to say, okay, we're going to focus on just couples. We're only going to focus on seafood lovers. We're only going to focus on people who travel at 3 a.m. Just ideas of how you're going to target that market and how you're going to fix your product or service to those customers, those potential customers. People who are going to invest, they will want to invest in something that's going to be viable. So that's where we want to see financial projections. We want to see, okay, this is how much we're going to make in the first year. This is how much we're going to make in the second year, the third year. We want to see something that's viable. So we want to ensure that in that business plan, we have those things. Potential lenders want to see financial projections. They're interested in strategy as well, because they don't just want to say, you know, yes, you're going to make all that money. We want to have that supported by a solid strategy for reaching those projections. A picture is worth 1,000 words. So the business plan, you're going to summarize it, and as much as possible, put in visual aids, whether it's bar charts, whether it's a picture of the location where you want where you're planning to have your business, a picture of the product that you're proposing to sell. A visual aid is worth 1,000 words. I see a hand raised. Floris, you're responding to those? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. Unfortunately, if you have a question, could you please type it in the Q&A? Unfortunately, we can't unmute the participants today just because of the large number of people attending. Thank you for your understanding.
Okay. That does take us to the next section, but I think we're at a break, Floris.
Yeah, Nicole, thanks very much. So that's very useful overview of just the main elements of your business plan and why it's so important. I think we're already getting questions about the financial projections aspect. So sit tight, everyone. Nicole will come to that and in great detail. So please don't worry. Two things now, very briefly, before I introduce our first second presenter, is that I forgot to mention, as far as our partners are concerned, is Dominica Aid Bank and our partners who we work with in Haiti, Sofides and Acme. They just dropped off the bottom of the screen when I was reading the list, so my apologies to you. And thank you everyone in Dominica and Haiti that's also joining us today. Lucy, you have a poll for everyone because we actually want to find out where everyone is and what kind of business you're running. So, and the second poll is going to pop up on the screen now. Get ready to give your answers. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Floris. Thanks a lot. So everybody, you should see on your screen a poll. So now we would like to know who you are. We want to, it's not possible to see us, but with this poll, we can try to have an idea of you. So please fill in the poll. Can you see it? Because for the moment, I don't see any answer. If someone can confirm in the chat, maybe. If you can see it, because I have no answer. Maybe, Anne, you can try to launch it.
Just did so. So if you could try to access it again.
Yeah. Okay, I see one answer now. Yeah, I think it's working. Great. So we want to know from where you are joining us today, from which country you are connected. We want to know who you are, if you are a woman, if you are a man, if you are a young boy, or and what is your age. So we'd like to know what is your age, your profile, if you own a business, if you are an entrepreneur, what you are doing, how long you have been running your business, if it's a new business, if you are in a startup, or if you are working with your business for a few years, your experience, and you would like to share some of your experience with the other participants in the chat. And as well, we would like to know in which country, in which sector you are working. If you are working in agriculture, in housing, production, public services, tourism. Tourism is very important in the Caribbean region. So please, we'll give you some few more minutes to fill in the poll, and then we'll look at the results together to see who you are. I see 107 answers for the moment.
Lucy,
In
there's
total?
quite a few participants who are unable to submit the poll, so I think we should just go through to the results now. I don't think anyone else is going to be able to submit. So
you cannot submit? Okay, I see that
No,
it's still increasing the number, but yeah, let's look at the results together. Okay, now you should be able to see the results. So you are a majority of you joining from Belize. Hola, hello, everybody from there, as well from Barbados, Jamaica, Grenada, St. Lucia. Very happy to have all of you here connected. A few people from Haiti as well. Hello, from Port-au-Prince and all Haiti. You are a majority
Antigua.
of women, yeah?
And Antigua. It's not on the list, but we have participants from Antigua and Montserrat as well. Welcome, guys. And Anguilla, I see there.
Anguilla as well is mentioned. Wow.
Hi, happy to have all of you here. So you are a majority of women, 68%. Majority from you have between 33 and 60 years old. And then you are under 33 for 26% of you. A majority on the business or entrepreneurs, 77%, and very important, 21% of you plan of launching or would like to launch a business. So it's very great to see that. A majority of you have been running your business for less than 1 year. So you are starting with your business, and 1 to 3 years for 28%. And we have 14% who have more than 10 years of experience, so very experienced. Very great to see that. And the sector, we can see that the majority of you are working in services, 32%, and as well in tourism, of course, which is very important, 9%, and production, I can see, and agriculture and agro-industry. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for answering. It's very good to know you better. And I give the floor to Floris for the next speaker.
Thank you. Yes, indeed. We just have a quick presentation from one of our important partners in this is the UNDP. Crystal Yearwood is working on the Future Tourism Project. Some of you might already be familiar with this. It's been helping small businesses adapt for a future and the changing environment, also due to COVID, in the tourism sector in the Eastern Caribbean. Crystal, welcome.
Hi, thank you so much, Floris, and good evening to everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you to the Frankfurt School and to the European Investment Bank for creating this MicroPitch event. So let me just share my screen. Please let me know when you guys can see it. Can you see it, Floris?
Yes, that's working. Just need to put into presentation mode, yeah.
Perfect. Okay, guys, like Floris said, I am from UNDP Barbados and the Eastern Caribbean, and I work on the Future Tourism Project. So that's me. My name is Crystal Yearwood. I am from the multi-country office in Barbados and the Eastern Caribbean, and I'm just going to give you a brief background about the project. So the UNDP Future Tourism Rethinking MSME in Times of COVID project was conceptualized to provide Caribbean tourism MSMEs with the skills necessary to adapt to the COVID-19 pandemic and beyond. So with continuous learning, the team at UNDP, along with some partners of ours, conceptualized training areas which allowed MSMEs to develop key skills in digital technologies, financial plannings, and digital marketing. The UNDP, in partnership with the UE Open Campus and the Frankfurt School of Management and Finance, collaborated with 10 governments from across the Eastern Caribbean to launch this project. It was done with two main components. We first had the Regional Policy Dialogues, which was a 5-part series, which focus on policy solutions. And the second part many of you are familiar with is our business adaptation program, which focuses on virtual online training and technical assistance. We are currently at phase 3 of our program, which focuses on the access to grants. And this is our hope that before the end of Q4, that many of the MSMEs who would have participated in our program would benefit from grants between US $4,000 and $6,500. So that's amazing for you guys. So for right now, we don't have that methodology online, but what we're trying to do is that by Q2 of 2022, we will have that for all of you available so you can review. But for now, what we have is the UNDP eFuture Guides. So many of you would know by now, in order to get through the pandemic, we would have to pursue new modes of operation, which are required in order to continue our businesses. So for many of the MSMEs within the Caribbean, this was seen as uncharted territory. So we developed this toolkit as a means to assist MSMEs throughout the region, bridge the digital divide. So the main focus, of the eFuture platform is to help MSMEs pivot and remain open during the COVID-19 pandemic and beyond. The platform offers strategic steps to help businesses discover new ways to reach customers. So the platform consists of actually 7 guides with tips and tools for improvement. So we have 6 here, but we recently launched a new one. And the first one keeps your business open through using digital and marketing channels. The second allows efficient handling of orders and deliveries. The third offers assistance with financial advice and giving you templates. And sorry about that. And the fourth one helps you how to ensure sanitary and safety protocols during the COVID-19 pandemic while you're carrying out your business. And then for 4, we have new payment methods. Many of you would be moving to digital and online payment systems. So that guide also helps with that. For guide 6, we have the creation and promotion of special offers, which shows you how to create products and promotions on digital platforms. And finally, number 7 is to integrate good environmental practices. So next, I have a very short video for you on the eFuture Guide and where you can find them. So here is that guide. Let me just play the video for you.
Crystal, before putting the video, can you just put your screen in full presentation mode?
Okay, let me.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Maybe to see
it
bigger.
Can you see it now?
Not yet.
There. More. Can you see it better? Let me try.
Not yet.
Here? Any better, guys?
No.
No, still not in full screen.
Oh dear, I am so sorry, everyone.
That's okay. That's okay. Just play the video. It's we'll be able to
play the video.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And if anything, guys, Klaus and his team, as well as Flores, they can send you the presentation if you like, so that you can review and see it on your own. I really apologize for that. I didn't realize because I'm using 2 screens. So let me just play the video. Alrighty. So as the video said, the package contains guides, videos, and tools, and those will be available at bit.ly/UNDP efuture_UNDP. I will place that in the chat for you guys as soon as I'm finished the presentation so that you can review it on your own and get access to those guides. We do have one other element of the guide, and that is the key. So the key is a self-paced online course which was developed in conjunction with Shade Gemma Consulting. So this online course offers 12 tools which will support your digital transition. The course works in tandem with the eFuture guides we have mentioned previously and uses those assets as a holistic way to improve your business. So this is also accessible through the same link, and you can easily go through it very quickly at your own pace whenever you have time. So that is the end of my presentation, guys. And I would like to say thank you to the team at Frankfurt School and the European Investment Bank once again. And if you have any questions, feel free to visit us at bb.undp.org, or you can send me an email at crystal.yearwood@undp.org. And thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thanks, Crystal. That looks like some excellent resources. eFutures and the key, the 12 steps to digitalization of your business. Go check the UNDP Eastern Caribbean website. The link's in the chat, and we'll also, of course, put the resources on the MicroPitch Caribbean website. Nicole, everyone get ready, get your pencils out, because we are now going to finances. Over to you, Nicole.
Thank you, Flores. Done, and it's coming. Okay, so we're going, before we start looking at and talking about financial management, we're gonna have some polls. Can you post the second poll, please? How important is financial management to your business? From a scale of 1 to 5, with 5 being the highest, how important is financial management to your business? Wow. I love the response rate. Slowing down a little bit, but I think for the most part, we have the right idea. It's very important. You can't be running a business and you have no idea of the status of your business. Are you making money or are you not making money? I mean, we're not doing this just for fun. We're doing it to sustain life, to make money, and to have a good return on investment. So yes, financial management is very important to your business. And we're gonna have the next poll number 3 as well. What is an asset? This is not a trick question, and we'll get more into it as we go through the rest of the slides. Is an asset, hold on, I need to pull up the poll questions myself. Is an asset something that a business owns and transfers economic benefits to another? Is it a resource owned by a business used to generate economic benefits? Is it a monthly operating cost? 47%. Can we get some more participation, please? Take a wild guess. There are no wrong answers. Something that a business owes and transfers economic benefits to?
It seems that
just started over.
Huh? Yeah, the poll disappeared, huh?
Yeah. Okay, we're gonna end that poll. And the correct answer is A, something that a business owes and transfers economic benefits to another. Let's do poll number 4, please. And that answer that I said was not correct. It's B. B is the answer for what is an asset, a resource owned by a business. Okay, but the next poll, what is the profit and loss? And even if you're not sure, just take a wild guess. The options are: the profit and loss is a report that summarizes the cash flow position of the business. B, the profit and loss is one of the core financial statements that tells the financial performance of a business at a particular period. The profit and loss is basically a list of all the things a business owns and owes. I think these guys were in that fundamentals of financial planning section class, because I think they're all saying the right thing.
That's absolutely right.
Which is good. It's good to see that you guys were listening if you were in that. And if you weren't, it's good to see that you guys have an idea of what the profit and loss is. So the correct answer is B. The profit and loss is one of the core financial statements that tells the financial performance of a business at a particular period. Okay, with that, we're going to jump into financial planning. Although from the poll responses, it sounds like you guys already have a pretty good idea of what financial planning is all about. So on your screens, you should be seeing some key business concepts. And the first concept that we're going to talk through is assets. What are assets? They're resources. They're things that are available to you as the business owner to use to make, and it has positive economic benefits. These are owned. This is something that is yours. This is owned by the business. When I say yours, I mean the business. You should try not to mix up the business with your personal things. You should always try to have those distinctly separated. We have different types of assets. We have intangible assets, which are like trademarks. You know, like Lasco is a trademark in Jamaica, or Google is a trademark. You have patents, and patents are those things that, you know, you figure out a good way to do something. You can get a patent so somebody else doesn't copy it. So you can protect your ideas. And then software is another intangible asset. When we talk about tangible assets, which we're probably more familiar with, we're talking about land, building, and equipment. If you're in agriculture, that's where your land would be your tangible asset. And of course, if you own the building that your restaurant is in, or your shop is in, then that's going to be your tangible asset. And any equipment that you use to produce your goods and services, that's going to be tangible assets as well. We look at current assets, which a lot of people get very happy about current assets. And when we think of current assets, we're talking about cash. We're talking about real money. We're talking about whether it's cash on hand, cash that you actually physically have in your cash register for your company, or it's cash that's actually in the bank. We talk about inventory. Inventory is really the products that you have for sale. So if you're in agriculture and you're a farmer and you're planting, you're selling oranges, the oranges would be your inventory. If you're in crafts, the craft that you have in your store would be your inventory. If you're I'm trying to think of another business that we're talking about here, but I think you get the idea. That's your inventory, the items that you have that are available for sale. You talk about trade receivables. Not everything is bought in terms of cash. So, you know, this is where we say, you know, you sell something on credit. That's a trade receivable. You sell it and you expect to get that back at a later date. That's a receivable. You're going to receive it at a later date. That's a current asset. Then we talk about non-current assets. And non-current assets, are those assets that are not, you can't realize the cash from them readily. So land is going to take a minute for you to get it sold and get cash on hand. Those are not current. Machinery, it may take a minute for you to get those sold as well, and motor vehicle. So that's the difference. You have current assets and non-current assets. The flip side of assets are liabilities. Whereas assets were something that you owned, you possessed, liabilities are things that represent obligations that you have to other people. You're transferring those economic benefits. It's not something that you own, it's something that you owe somebody, an obligation that you have to repay at a later date. So as you think through it, you're thinking about trade payables. So this is the flip of the trade receivables. This is where you bought something on credit. So you wanted to buy your motor vehicle, you didn't have the cash. The motor vehicle for the business, you didn't have cash, so you bought it on credit. That becomes a payable. The bank overdraft, that's a current liability as well. And any tax that you have that needs to be paid. There's taxes everywhere. And that's a current liability. So we have to account for that when we're talking about our financial management for the business. Non-current liabilities, we're looking at later on, and longer term. So any loans that you may have taken out to support or fund the business, those loans that you got when you were doing your business plan, those would be non-current liabilities. They're not gonna come due in the next 30 days, but they are going to be due eventually in the longer term. Any capital leases. So if you leased your building, that would be a non-current liability. And of course, any deferred taxes would also be non-current liabilities. So in math, 1 + 1 always equals 2. In finance, assets minus liabilities will always equal equity. In the same way, equity plus liabilities will always equal assets. And what does that show us? What is equity? Equity is your business book value. It's showing you how much is your business worth. Your business may mean the world to you. It's your baby and you think it's valued so much, but it always will come down to the book value. What's on the books? It's going to come down. What are your assets minus your liabilities? That's what your business is going to be valued at. So it's not, you can put in some of those intrinsic values that you have, and that would come down to things like goodwill, which is an intangible asset. But at the end of the day, it's what's on the books. How much would you get if you sold this business? That's the equity that you have in the business. It talks about share of ownership. If you were a bigger business, which may not, we're talking about MSMEs here. If you were a bigger business and you sold shares to fund the capital for your business, then that would be part of the equity that's in your business. And shares there would be, you call it shares or you call it stock. Also, if you were like in a partnership, and then your share of that partnership is considered equity as well. And we talk about retained earnings. Sorry about that. Retained earnings, when we think about that, and we'll get to that when we get a little bit more into financial management here. Retained earnings is anything that's going to be left in the business. So after you have your profit and you say, okay, I'm gonna use this to pay out my salaries and do all those things. It's the money that's going to be retained in the business afterwards. And we don't have a lot of time to get in as much details as you guys may like in these sessions, but just so you know, that's retained earnings. And we're going to look through the balance sheet and the profit and loss in a little bit more detail as we go through this. So another key business concept is the concept of income. And a lot of people tend to think that income is just any money you receive, but there are different aspects to income. Yes, it's revenue from your sales. So when you sell something, the money that comes in, that's your revenue. And then you have the concept of gross income. But after you take out your taxes and so forth, and you take out some expenses, there's also the concept of net income as well. And we're going to walk through those as we look through our profit and loss statement as well. Another concept is expenses. Yes, we think of wages and salaries, but we also have to think about the cost of the goods sold. For those of us who are producing our goods, there are costs that go into that product that we produce. So we have to accumulate those costs and include it as part of expenses to come up with, you know, your net profit, your net income to walk through that. We also have to take into account delivery and repairs and maintenance, of course, as part of expenses. So this is just a recap of the key business concepts that we just went through and some further examples of the different things that fall under each category of those business concepts. Under assets, you know, you think about your checking account, your petty cash account, inventory, accounts receivable. Again, under expenses, we're thinking about payroll, insurance, rent, equipment, cost of goods sold, liabilities, which nobody wants to think about, but it's still there, accounts payable, your sales tax, and your payroll tax, and the equity accounts, owners, equity, common stock, retained earnings, and the income accounts as they're listed there. So those were the business concepts, and we're just gonna delve into them a little bit more. So the balance sheet, I'm not sure how many of you actually do your own balance sheet, or if you have somebody who does your balance sheet for you. It's really just a list of all the things that the business owns and owns. As we had said before, it is categorized into three components. You have the assets, which is what you own, and liabilities are what you owe, and then you have equity. And we spoke about that equation before: assets minus liabilities equal equity. It's a snapshot of the financial position, right? It's just gonna show you what does your business look like at this point in time. And it's a good thing so you can just understand, you know, how much do I have, how much do I owe, and the value of my business. So here, I need to move this over a little bit. Here we have an example of a balance sheet. Typically, you'll see the balance sheet for not just 1 year, but like 3 years, especially if you're putting it in your business plan, because you want to see the projection and you want to see, you know, compare year over year to see how everything is going. So we have December 2018, December 2019, December 2020. It's typically produced for the year ended, and some people's year ends at different times. Most typically end in December. So as we spoke about the different categories that are on the balance sheet, we have the assets, and we have the current assets here, and we have cash, petty cash, as we had said, and you can see how that moves. So if we assume that the business started in December in 28, if the business started in 2018, we would see that as the business is growing, the cash on hand is growing. The inventory started great, and it took a little dip in 2019, but it's coming back up in 2020. Our land, we still have this, the land is valued at the same, but it looks like we probably acquired more assets as buildings, or the building got revalued and it's now valued more. It also looks like, you know, we bought more equipment to help us to continue our business. And it looks like we had some, we started out with some good motor vehicles, but we probably sold some because the value of the motor vehicle has declined in the third year. We didn't talk about depreciation here, but as everybody knows, you know, wear and tear, that's really what depreciation is. As you use your equipment and your motor vehicles more and more, the value depreciates. It gets less and less. So that's what that accumulated depreciation there is. I briefly spoke about goodwill, which is an intangible asset, and that's valued here. And it's just, you know, in Jamaica, they would probably say, that's your good name. That's your good name. That's what goodwill really is. So you can put a value to it, but it's a value that's an intangible value. So at the end of 2020, we see that, you know, the company, this business had total assets that valued $1 million, an increase from where it was in 2018. The other side of the balance sheet is the liabilities. And again, just to reiterate here, these are the things that we owe. So we owe money to probably vendors, trade payables. We owe wages because we need to pay the people that are working, and we owe taxes. So this is where that's documented. And we have loans. You know, we probably took out a loan when we started the company, and that was 250, and we're paying down the loan over the years. So you see the loan value declining, and we have a lease out there that we're paying down as well. So you see the lease value declining, and that's our share capital, because we've have stocks. So we've sold shares for share capital, and this is the retained earnings is just the amount of money that we are retaining in the business year over year, and that's increasing. So our liability is 1,208, and surprise, surprise, our assets is 1,208. And that proves out that formula that we said, assets minus liabilities equals equity, or liabilities plus equity equal assets. So I'll just leave this here for a little bit so you guys can look at it. And if you have questions, you can type it in the chat. I think Flores and team, they're diligently answering those questions. So if you have any questions, type it in the chat, and we can talk through it later on. So that was essentially the balance sheet, which again, it's showing, let me go back to this slide. It's showing a snapshot of the financial position of the business at a point in time. And any business can have a balance sheet. The detailed account may be different. Not everybody may have a petty cash account here. Not everybody will have land. Not everybody may have building and equipment, but you will have assets and liabilities. The accounts are gonna be the same. It's just the name of the accounts that may vary. Most people should have trade payables, and some people, you know, you write out the vendor's name, but we will have assets, liabilities, and equity. How am I doing on time, Flores? Doing well?
Yeah, you're doing great. We're halfway through, so
okay.
No problems. Actually,
so the next
whilst I
concept
have your attention, sorry, Nicole. We have one very specific question related to the balance sheet that came up. Let's just grab it now whilst we have it fresh in our minds.
Okay.
How do you value goodwill?
It's not something that you as a business owner typically values. It's something that like an accountant could value, or you could have the auditors help you to value. But it's really, as I said, your good name. The concept of how valuable people think your company is. It's your good name, but it's an intangible asset that you'd have to get some professional help to determine that value. I hope that helped.
Yeah.
Okay.
It needs to be verified. I understand it needs to be verified by someone externally, like your auditor. It couldn't just be something that you calculate yourself and include.
Yeah, because you'd probably say, "Oh, my goodwill is $1 million," but no, it's a little bit more detailed than that.
There is something when it comes to when you acquire a business, then there's an accounting rule about the value paid for the business compared to the book value of the business, and then you can actually get a number for goodwill. But if it's your own business, it's not as clear as that. So you will need to have the help from your auditor.
Yes, or your accountant. Okay, the income statement. So we spoke about the balance sheet, and now we're going to look at the income statement. This is just another of those financial statements that are important for a business to have, so they can have an understanding of how the business is doing. So the income statement, some people call it the P&L or the profit and loss statement, is, as I said, one of the core financial statements. This one is going to tell you the financial performance of the business at a particular period. It's going to show you your cost, your revenue, your expenses, your net profit, and your net loss. I think a lot of us focus just on the revenue, and we see a lot of cash coming in, but we don't take into account the cost, the expenses. We don't have that concept of net profit. So it's very important, this little document here, so we have a true picture of how the business is doing. And here we have another formula: revenue minus expenses equals net profit. And that makes perfect sense, right? How much you have in hand after you pay out everybody else, all those expenses that you owe, that what's left is your profit. All the money that you collect is not necessarily yours. You do have to pay your expenses, and what's left is your net profit. So this is what a typical income statement or P&L looks like. And again, we've done it for the 3 years, just so you can have a comparison. It's always good to look at things in relation year over year to see how you're doing, because it may stand alone, it may look like you're doing great, but when you look on the year before, you could be doing worse than you did the prior year. So you always want to look at things year over year. So here we have 2018 first, and it goes to 2020. Revenue seems to be picking up. We started out with just making 400,000 for the year in terms of revenue, but it's picked up a good bit in 2020. And then cost of sales, as I said, that's how the cost of bringing those products to market. The button that you had to buy to sew on to the clothes that you're putting in your shop to sell, the oil that you had to put in the machine to go and grind the sugar cane to make the sugarcane juice that you're going to sell. And I'm being very simplistic, I'm sorry, but that's the cost of sales. And after you take out cost of sales from revenue, you have your gross profit. But even after you have your gross profit, you still have other expenses that you need to account for. We're talking about salaries. If you have people that are working for you, you need to pay those guys. So we see here we're accounting for salaries, and salaries have gone up. It could be that people got a wage increase, or you hired more people because your business is doing so well. And with salaries, your taxes, your payroll taxes will go up as well. So we see an increase in the payroll taxes here. And rent, it could be that, you know, your business is doing well, so you had to rent another area, or you open in another location, or rent just went up. So we have to pay for that. So as you can see, it's eating into that gross profit, eating into the revenue. And that's why you have to put it on paper to see just how good the business is doing. Because you could have seen, oh, I made $650,000 in 2020, but you also paid out $185,000 as operating expenses. So at the end of the day, you don't really have $650,000. You have $179,000 as your profit.
Just to jump in, Nicole, excuse me. We had one of the questions in the chat about the formula for calculating cost of goods sold. Could you just go into a little bit more detail, please, about that? What kind of items people should be thinking of, and you know, why some items might be included before gross profit and why some items might be included below gross profit before it comes to net profit?
Are you hearing me?
Now we can, yes.
Okay, you guys are okay. I'm hearing you now. So cost of sales, and I'm gonna try and be as simple, and Klaus, jump in and help me as you can. Cost of sales is going to be the opening inventory. I'm trying to remember, Klaus. Cost of sales, opening inventory plus purchases minus sales equals cost of sales. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, guys.
No, that's okay. We can Google that as well. But maybe just some examples, like the cost of sales would be, you know, what you paid for to make the product, right?
Yeah, and that's
service.
and that's what I was trying to say in terms of the cost of sales. And sorry, guys, on the formula, it's not something that was readily available. I'm so sorry about that. So cost of sales, as I was saying, it's any cost that went into producing the product. So a lot of people may not produce, like make things from scratch. It's going to be the raw materials that you use to bring your product to market. So give me an example of an industry and of a company, of a business, and let me walk you through what that cost of sales would be. So like if we thought about, let's take a craft shop, and this person is making blouses for sale. So included in your cost of sales would be the raw material that you had, the material that you use, the material that you use to cut and shape into that blouse, the thread that you used, the buttons that you sewed on. Those are gonna be costs that would go into your cost of sales. What's not gonna go in there is probably the electricity, the water that's running the shop. Those are just normal overheads, but these are direct costs associated with bringing the goods to market. Does that help?
I believe so. I think we're touching on a broader issue here, which maybe we should just touch on. And that is, look, I don't have an accounting qualification. I have had the luck of having to look at a lot of financial statements in my life. Yes. And actually no two financial statements have ever been really exactly the same. And if it comes to like a simple business, then you know, you can basically, these categories are what you need. And within the cost of sales, which is also known as the cost of goods sold, you could maybe expand that either in that same overview or maybe on a separate sheet. And you could expand that and put all the items that went in, if it was your raw materials, if, you know, like you mentioned the example with someone that's making shirts or whatever the case may be, those are your items that you needed to pay. And a more sophisticated business, you would look at, you know, your inventory and how that changed. Maybe if you have several warehouses, you know, you can do that on a broader basis. But no two income statements will ever be exactly the same, even if they look the same at first sight, because you get this nice, clear overview. In my experience, what's so important when I look at income statements and the balance sheet is the detail behind it. And generally, you'll have notes. So where you might have revenue as a nice top line number to report, because, you know, as a nice, clear overview, you might then, as a note, you would have the revenue that you got from different sectors or different types of customer or your different business lines. Or if it was, you know, whatever your business is, maybe it's your revenue from either food or beverages, or whether it was from your main restaurant or from your food truck, you know. So you can always break that down into a way that will then again tell the story about the business. And for someone that's going to really dive into the details, they'll really be able to follow where the money's from and where it's coming and going. And also for you, when you look at it, you'll also know what's going on in your business in detail. So this really just a structure. And I think if you are just running your own business, I mean, with you know, 1 or 2 or 3 people, you can probably do this more or less yourself, just using some basic templates you might find online, and keeping your daily calculations up to date. And as your business grows and becomes more sophisticated, you would then probably need the help of an accountant to make sure that the things are properly itemized and included, because then eventually it's also going to impact your taxes, of course. Nicole, is that fair? Is there anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, that's very fair, Floris. It varies, and at the end of the day, it's just going to be those costs, as you said, associated with bringing a product to market. The formulas, nobody is actually putting pen to paper to calculate these things. Everything is digitalized now, so those would be included in whatever packages that you use to do your accounting. They're in accounting softwares. But at the end of the day, it's a direct cost to bring those goods to market.
Yeah, we are getting a lot of questions on this, but I would like to avoid going into too much detail on just one accounting line. I can assure you that we'll come up, you're going to mention some tools at the end, right, on how to do this efficiently using software, which will take out a lot of the headache, right, of trying to do these accounts, if I'm not mistaken. And then I can also recommend to also just look on YouTube, because there are very good videos out there that will explain each of these concepts with worked examples that you can find. So let's keep going with, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and worst case, well, not necessarily worst case, from the last training that we did, a number of people already had accountants that were doing their books for them. The key here is just to introduce the concepts to everybody so they have a good understanding, and we'll be able to ask their accountant, what does this mean? So they understand what is being shown to them as well, if you're not the one doing the books. Okay. With that, I am going to go into the statement of cash flow, which is another one of those core financial statements. This one is summarizing the liquidity position of the business and how well it can fund its operations. It's going to measure the amount of cash and cash flowing into and out of the business. So the balance sheet was at a point in time, it's showing you what your assets and liabilities were. Your P&L is what it says. It's showing what your profits are, but you still want to see your cash flow. How is cash flowing into the business? And on the cash flow, you're just really looking on cash, as it says, cash activities, from operating activities, from investing activities, or from financing activities. Here again is another example of a cash flow statement. And as it says, it's just cash. It's not going to take into account any non-cash activities. So what you're doing is you're looking on, and I'm going to scroll back a little bit. You're looking on your balance sheet and you're comparing it year over year. And the difference is what's going to be shown on your cash flow. So the movement between 2018 and 2019 in terms of cash would be shown on your cash flow. It's gonna be, where is it? Increase in cash and cash equivalents down here. So we're going through all the cash items that are on the balance sheet and just developing that cash flow. We look through inventory. That's one of the items that's there. And we're seeing how it moves. And the decrease or the increase would show that there was some change in cash. Either we sold more or we didn't sell any. And so that would be a cash movement. And again, I'm not gonna walk through in detail all of the cash flow statements here, but it's showing the decrease or the increase. So it's showing that as the years are progressing, the cash is increasing. So if this was just an estimate for your business plan, it would show that, you know, you're projected to have an increase in cash as the years go up. And it ties back out to your cash at bank as well. Anything you want to add there, Flores, to supplement that?
Yeah, I think if I can just jump in, I know for myself when I was studying these concepts, I found it very tricky to understand why do you need a cash flow statement if you have a profit and loss.
Mm-hmm.
And what I learned is that you can be a very profitable company on paper, but you can run out of cash and go bankrupt. And why is that possible? Well, for instance, you might be recording sales in your profit and loss account because you're issuing invoices. But imagine that the people that owe money to you are not paying and they take months and months and months to pay you. So on your profits, you're showing that you made a sale and you made revenues and you made a profit, right? That's great. But on your cash flow statement, it will reveal that actually you didn't get that money, right? Because your cash didn't increase as it was expected to. And that's why cash flow planning is so important, really, fundamentally, when you're running your business, is that it's for your own management purposes, especially in the early years. It's probably even more important than your profit and loss, depending on how big you are as a company, of course. Because in the end, it's the cash that's going to allow you to make your loan repayment. It's going to be the cash that's going to allow you to pay your electricity bill. It's going to be the cash that's going to allow you to pay your salaries, because all these things have to happen on a certain date. Whereas in your profit and loss, and this happens a lot with big companies, you know, they can play around a bit with their accounts receivables and their accounts payables. You know, supermarkets are famous for, you know, being really aggressive on how they demand, well, they get the money, the cash, obviously, very quickly from their customers, but they might be very slow in paying their suppliers. Sorry for any supermarkets, I'm generalizing here. So there is a fundamental difference. For a very small business, I would actually focus to start with on just cash flow accounting and ignore the more complicated aspects of like amortization and depreciation and your tax liabilities and your pension liabilities and all these things that will start appearing as your business becomes more sophisticated, it grows, and you have to start reporting on these things. What we're seeing here right now is like quite a specialized cash flow statement, because it's actually split into like different categories according to where you get your money from and where your money is going to. The main important thing is at the bottom, you get your cash at the beginning of the year and at the end of the year. So you can really see what's happening on your bank account effectively and trace that back to your activities. I think generally speaking, if you have a very small business, just focus on your profit and loss, on doing cash flow accounting, and make sure that you run a very tight ship on your business. And I think as your business develops, you will naturally start managing also payment streams from your accounts receivable, the money that people owe you and haven't paid yet, and your accounts payable, and then your tax liabilities, and things will develop more, and you'll start seeing bigger differences between your actual cash position and what your profit and loss is saying. I hope I'm not confusing things here. It really kind of depends on the size of your business and how many years you've been operating.
Maybe there's one important
yes,
recommendation
and as I said before,
TOOLKIT.
some of this is for awareness. If you have somebody that does your hello?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, so if it's awareness, so if you have somebody who already does your accounting, it's just so you are aware of, okay, there is a cash flow statement. This is what it means. So when you look at it, you're not just totally lost. So that, you know, we're not gonna get into the details of the accounting aspect of it. Okay. So cash management,
So
we're just gonna run through these. Yeah, we're gonna talk a little bit more about cash. Cash management, you know, the process of collecting, dispersing, and managing a business's cash and cash equivalents. It is, as it says here, perhaps the most important resource of any business. And as Flores was saying, it's critical to survive, so you need to know where the cash is. But if it's a very small business, take all of this with a grain of salt. You don't have to kill yourself to go create that cash flow. And these are the different accounts that we typically see in a cash flow: accounts receivables, payables, and inventory. And this is just going a little bit more into what Flores and I had said before. Differentiating between what's cash and what's cash equivalent. Cash is money that is on hand or can be accessed immediately upon demand. Equivalent are short-term, highly liquid assets that are readily convertible to cash. Excuse me. Usually 3 months or less without significant risk of changes in value.
Are you okay, Nicole? Yeah?
Yeah, my throat is just a little bit dry.
Okay,
so
no worries.
For cash equivalents, we're looking on, it's not just going to be the money that's in the bank, of course. You may have some CDs that are short-term cash equivalents, you know, or those would be what we would call as cash equivalents. Anything that's usually less than 3 months, but not quite as liquid as the cash. And when we talk about liquidity, we mean, can I go use it right now and get value, a return on it? That takes us to the end of that section. Flores, I don't know if you want to add anything in terms of cash equivalents here, but I think that covers that section. And
yeah, thanks. I think if you go back a slide, maybe just I'd see there's more presentation coming, but if just go back to the statement of cash flow slide, and just talk, if you could talk 2 minutes about what are operating activities, what are investing activities, and what are financing activities. And then there was a slide as well also on inventory, accounts receivable, accounts payable, and inventory. Just to describe the concepts to people, so they when they start, you know, developing their financial statements, they'll have in mind what he's referring to.
Yeah, I think everybody is at home in the neighborhood now. My internet is going in and out. I missed most of what you were saying, Flores.
So if you just go back one slide, there is the cash management. Could you just quickly describe the 3 concepts here that are accounts receivable, accounts payable, and inventory? so that people, when they start developing their business and they can have these concepts in their minds when they start making their P&L accounts and related to the actual cash they have in their hand or in their bank account.
So accounts receivables, accounts payables, and inventory, those are concepts that are coming from our balance sheet. As we talked about assets and liabilities, accounts receivables are considered assets because it's money that's owed to you. You've sold a product or a service, but you didn't sell it for cash. You sold it for credit. That's like a credit sale. So then somebody owes you money. So it's now receivable. So as you get that money, it would impact your cash flow. It's going to reduce your accounts receivable and be shown as a positive concept on your cash flow. The reverse, the accounts payables would be the reverse. That's a liability on your balance sheet. And that's where you had bought goods for credit. You didn't hand over cash at the time of getting those goods. And it could have been when you purchased your raw materials to make your products. That you didn't hand over cash, you actually did that on credit. So as you pay your creditor, you pay your vendor, you are going to see a reduction in your cash, and that would be shown on your cash flow as a decrease in your cash flow because it's reducing your cash. Inventory is also another balance sheet concept. It's an asset. So as your assets, typically as your assets increase, you're reducing your cash because you're acquiring these assets, and the presumption is that you're giving up cash to acquire the assets. So inventory, as we had said, that's anything that you have for sale. If it's your produce from your farm, that would be considered inventory. As you sell it, it's going to decrease. And then as you accumulate it and stock up, whether you're stocking up for the holidays that's coming, then it's going to decrease. And that's going to impact your cash flow as well.
Thanks, Nicole. Yeah, I think that's useful. For me, the one thing that always stuck with me when I study these things is that on the balance sheet, it was like different buckets of water, and that would be a static picture of the business on a certain date, generally the 31st of December or maybe the 31st of March, depending on your financial year. And that just gives an idea of where the value is in your business and where you owe things. And then the profit and loss was explained to me as the flow of those different buckets throughout the year. So your profit and loss is like the sum of all the flows that happen between the different buckets on your balance sheet during the year. Accounts receivable might go down, and then your cash will go up. And the value of your interest payments, your interest due would go down in your balance sheet, which would then be shown as the interest you paid on your profit and loss. So I always liked that concept, that one was just a static picture with different buckets, and then the profit and loss was the flow of the money as it went through the business, through the different categories as we define them, as detailed or as simple as you want. I mean, you can have a 3-line profit and loss account, and that's just fine if you're starting off, you know, whatever is most appropriate for your business. So actually, we had a valuable comment from someone as well, the importance of having a business bank account separated from your personal bank account. And that's goes to your bank account, but also goes for like the cash you might have in your pocket. If you want to keep a very good track of your expenses when it comes to your business, and you want to make sure that you are making money and how much money, and find out where you could be saving money or making more money, for instance, you know, having a fully separate accounting, or at least management of your personal expenses from your business expenses, is critical. If you're just starting off, you're a single entrepreneur, for instance, you're running a small micro enterprise, it can be tempting just to mix those up. But if at all possible, I guess I would recommend that you would pay yourself a salary, even if it's very nominal, and you use that, you take that out of your kind of your business accounting as an expense, and that you use that money then for whatever you need it for your personal reasons. And then, and that way you can avoid not being sure really where the money's gone at the end of the month, you know, whether it's going to pay for your own phone bill or for the cost of your of running your business. Before we go on with the training, I would now like to welcome, please, Lisa Harding from Caribbean Development Bank, who is a coordinator for micro, small, and medium-sized enterprise development. Lisa's going to tell us a little bit about what Caribbean Development Bank is doing in the MSME space. Over to you, Lisa. Now you just need to hit that mute button.
Here we go. Good afternoon, everyone. Good night. Okay, let me just share my screen very quickly. I saw Lucy's note that we're running a bit behind schedule, so I'll really try to speed up as much as I can. Sorry. Why doesn't it ever work? Oh, here we go.
Thanks, everyone. Lisa's just putting up her presentation.
I am. Okay, can we all see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Again, good night, everyone. My name is Lisa Harding. I am the coordinator for MSME development in the private sector division of the Caribbean Development Bank. And we have a very robust program to support MSMEs in all of our 19 borrowing member countries. They span from Anguilla to Suriname, Haiti, Guyana, etc. What we do, and just in terms of managing expectations, we provide a broad range of support for MSMEs, including the legal and regulatory environment, which looks at really the legislative frameworks and so on to support the ease of doing business. We also provide support for capacity building of MSMEs through partners, mainly through business support organizations such as chambers of commerce, business development centers, accelerator programs, etc. And we also provide institutional strengthening of those institutions who work to provide services to you as well. So a lot of what I'm going to deliver today will speak about partnerships, because we work through partners in delivering opportunities for MSMEs. Today, I'm going to try to really focus in on, as I said, our programming is ongoing. But I'm just going to highlight the specific opportunities that are imminent within the next, maybe quarter or 6-month period that would be of particular interest to you. But at the end of the presentation, you can feel free to contact me and learn more about how you can get ongoing updates for additional programming as we move on. So in terms of, I'm going to really, as I said, focus on specific sectors, so that I can be very quick and you can see exactly what is available and, if it suits your particular interest. In terms of agro-processing, we have a project with a firm called InMed in Jamaica. If you are involved in aquaponics or would like to be involved in aquaponics, we are scaling that project to include countries including Antigua and Barbuda, Barbados, Grenada, and Trinidad. And if you're interested in kind of aquaponic culture, you can contact inmedcaribbean.org, because they will be rolling out some training programs and some grant opportunities in that specific area. Along the lines of green business as well, we have been working with one of our partners, Caribbean Climate Innovation Center, and they're also going to be rolling out a series of entrepreneurship trainings and boot camps and accelerators in Barbados, Jamaica, St. Lucia, Suriname, and Trinidad and Tobago. So again, if you're interested and you're involved in any type of green tech, MSME, enterprise, this is the, we have a project with them, and this you can contact CCIC for more information. Along the same lines as climate change, but this is specifically for those of you from Belize. I saw some of the persons from Belize are on the call. There's going to be a webinar coming up on Tuesday, December 7th, which looks at the risks and opportunities for Belizean MSMEs, focusing on climate change. So how does climate change impact your business? What are some of the opportunities to invest in climate change mitigation and adaptation? So again, you can contact the Belize Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Janicia Tucker, for more information on that program. And following on from this kind of sensitization, there's going to be further opportunities for climate financing as well. So, there's going to be that. It's not just training, but there are opportunities for finance specifically for projects that are focused on climate change. And just shifting a little bit to ICTs, you would have heard from our partners, Crystal, earlier on the UNDP Futurism project. But just to say, we are also partnering with them on a specific module which looks at the digitalization of tourism-based MSMEs, and there'll be a number of training programs, one-on-one assistance and funding to MSMEs really related to digitizing their operations. And of course, if you are from Barbados or any members of the OECS countries, you are eligible to apply for that particular opportunity. There's another very exciting project focused on ICTs as well that we are also working alongside with Tech Beach Retreat and the IDB on a technology incubator program for tech firms. And this one will focus on basically providing, again, technical assistance to build the capacity of firms. But very interestingly as well, it's also to it's very practical, and the intention is to pair tech firms with private sector operations who are looking for IT and tech solutions. So we're going to be working with private sector, larger companies, but allowing and creating that synergy for suppliers of tech solutions from within the tech environment. So again, if you're interested in learning more about that particular program, you can contact Tech Beach Retreat. They're based in Jamaica. But this is a regional program as well, and would be open to persons in not only Jamaica, but Trinidad, Belize, Barbados, Bahamas, Antigua and Barbuda, as well as Guyana. We also have a very recently launched, very interesting program. CDB has partnered with Nudge Caribbean and Massey Stores. And this project focuses on increasing market access through the Massey distribution network. The project is ongoing in Trinidad and was launched in St. Lucia just last week, and was launched in Barbados a few weeks ago. This is really open to, it allows firms to display their goods within the Massey distribution network, as well as on their online platforms. And then there are also a number of training opportunities. This is available, as I said, for MSMEs in Barbados, St. Lucia, and Trinidad, and you can contact nudgecaribbean.com for more information. I think this is quite a very, very interesting opportunity because, as you know, it also opened doors for exporting because of the significant network that the Massey supermarket chains has. So that is very, very interesting. Just also want to mention that CDB also has a Cultural and Creative Industries Innovation Fund. So I'm not sure how many of you on the call are creatives, but we do have a dedicated facility focus on the creative industries. There are, again, a number too numerous to mention on this particular call this afternoon, but I just wanted to highlight two resources. We have a proposal writing online training course, which is available through CDB's e-learning platform. And we're about to pilot and launch a creative industry profiles that's also going to be available to the public. Again, it provides a lot of interesting resource information on the sector, including financing, training, education, what incentives are there, where are the venues, how you can access support, etc. So whether you are as a creative yourself or if you're a consultant providing services to the creative industries, that would also be an interesting resource that you can tap into. As I said, we have a number of ongoing opportunities, but there are too many to mention here. But what I would encourage you to do is to register for the SIF database, which would allow you to receive our regular newsletters and updates on opportunities. And we also have a SIF consultant directory where we also provide opportunities for consultants who are interested in delivering services to the sector to also partake in procurement opportunities. And just before I close, and it's a good segue, I saw a lot of conversations in the chat just now about goodwill and valuing your business. And I just want to also mention that we're working alongside the Jamaica Intellectual Property Office. They're doing a number of intellectual property training webinars. It's part of a larger project that we're working towards building a cadre of valuers within the region to really monetize intellectual property. We're working with the financial institutions so that they are more equipped to take into consideration intellectual property when they are then making credit available to the sector. So again, you can contact JIPO for more information on a number of upcoming webinars. And again, these are not only available to Jamaican MSMEs, but for MSMEs across the region. Sorry for rushing, but thank you very much. I will drop my information in the chat as well. And again, thanks to Frankfurt School and EIB for allowing CDB the opportunity to share very quickly a snapshot of some of the opportunities available to you MSMEs. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Lisa. That was a very valuable presentation and it's so great to see that all these initiatives are ongoing. Actually, let's keep going with the training now. We'll finish in a few minutes because we still also have to hear from Tanya Cummings, and we'd like to just give you a little bit of information about the MicroPitch competition as well before we run out of time. Let me assure you, everyone, that information from Lisa will also be available on the MicroPitch website, but also please check carabank.org from CDB, the CDB website, where everything she mentions is also clearly explained with all the relevant links and documents and application forms on the CDB website. Nicole, over to you. Okay,
and with time running out, we're going to go through this very quickly. We had 2 polls. Do we want to do the poll still?
I suggest let's do going.
Yeah, let's do the polls.
Number 5. What is digital record keeping and accounting? Is it A, the information, representation, and transfer? A, the formation, representation, and transfer of financial information in an electronic format. B, storing of business transactions on specially designed hardcover books. C, collection and sorting of source documents into a secured cabinet or vault. Everybody's super smart. So with just 57%, I think we do have the answer. It is the formation, representation, and transfer of financial information in an electronic format. Let's also do poll number 6 while we're at it, please. How likely are you to implement digital record keeping and accounting solutions? And the response may vary as you learn about digital record keeping, which is what we're going to try and cover in the next few minutes. Wow, that's really good. UNDP, I think you're doing a great job socializing digital record keeping to this group. So very likely. Okay, that's great. Okay, with that, let's jump into digital record keeping and accounting. With our time constraints, I'm gonna go through this even more quickly than I did the others. So what is digital record keeping? It's what we had said, it's where we're putting everything in an electronic format. When I started doing auditing back in 1996, we actually had green paper where we would write out our T balances and balance the books. But as we progressed, everybody has a laptop. Everybody is doing digital record keeping and accounting. So as we said, it's the formation, representation, and transfer of financial information in an electronic format. It's electronic storage of all business transactions instead of using papers and books. A lot of small businesses typically have those receipt books. I remember seeing my father write up a receipt to show that, you know, he had been paid whatever was due to him. We're moving away from that and really getting into digitalization here. What are the benefits? As you may have seen from the paper receipts, those papers, the ink fades, you lose the paper, you end up with a pile of boxes somewhere, your cabinet is overflowing. And then you have to search through everything just to find one document. So the benefit of digital record keeping, as we see here, is quick and easy access to the data, the ability to convert data into meaningful reports. So as we said, if you're not writing it down on paper, with your balance sheet and your profit and loss and your cash flow, you can easily get those statements when you start doing your record keeping digitally. You don't have to sit down and drop the T accounts and drop that balance sheet. You can just digitize it and get those reports very quickly. It improves the safety and security of the data because it's not paper that's just floating around and you're gonna lose it. It enhances collaboration in the workplace. The receipt book is not just with one person. No, we can see the receipts and everything, what's owed, accounts receivable, accounts payable, across teams, because it's shareable data. It's not just one piece of paper that has to go hand to hand to hand. It's now something that is available to everybody. And ability to work remotely. With everything that's happening with the pandemic, that's something that everybody is really embracing, the ability to work remotely. It does improve accuracy and completeness of the data. I mean, I haven't found anybody that writes as beautiful as my mom, because she's a teacher and they did handwriting back in the days. But here nowadays, people are scrabbling. You don't know what people wrote. So in terms of accuracy, things may get transcribed inaccurately when we're using paper copies. But with digital record keeping, it really is just data entry that everybody can read. There are many solutions out there, and when we did the last training, quite a few of the attendees actually had been using some form of digital record keeping. You have the off-the-shelf ones that you just literally pick up and you plug it in and you pay it, or you can customize some of this software to read exactly what your business is. You can put in the specific names and types of your products and so forth. Or you can also do cloud-based accounting. Cloud-based accounting is where everything is not stored on your laptop. It's gonna be stored at a third-party site that hosts that data. So it's not on your laptop. So if your laptop gets lost, you won't be in jeopardy of losing everything. A lot of people are going to that cloud-based accounting, but that's typically something that larger companies do, not necessarily smaller companies. Smaller companies typically have their workstations and their computers on hand, on site, not necessarily in the cloud. As we see here, we're getting to more details about it. Entire accounting system is stored on an online platform. It includes all functionality as desktop solutions. It offers more security features. It does promote remote access. I mean, one of the things that you don't have to worry about is, you know, viruses and so forth, because that's all going to be taken care of by the third-party person that's doing that. You don't have to worry about the security because they are taking care of who has access and managing that for you. And in terms of versions, you don't have to constantly think about updating. Like, you know, you have your Word document or you have the Excel and you have to keep on thinking about, okay, I have to go update my Word, my Microsoft Office, or whatever accounting platform that you're using. That's going to be automatically updated when you use the cloud-based accounting software. Here are some examples of cloud-based accounting for small businesses. The most popular that I've heard of is Intuit QuickBooks, and that's online. You have Wave, you have Xerox, you have Zoho Books, Cashew, and FreshBooks. And I'm not gonna go through all of them or any of them in any detail because we're almost at time, but I'm going to talk about some of the things that you need to think about as you go into your accounting system. You can do record keeping end to end, or you can do record keeping for specific processes in your business. You could do record keeping just around your inventory. You could do record keeping just around your sales process, or you could do it just around your salary, your wages. But some of the things that you need to think about as you think about going into digitalizing your record keeping, you need to consider the needs of your business. How easy is this software going to be to use? How affordable is it? I know a lot of people think about the affordability first, but how affordable? And you have to think about short-term, long-term. Sure, it may be free now, but then you're gonna have to, you're not gonna get all the features that you need. Sure, it may be expensive now, but over time it's gonna pay for itself. We think about expandability, and again, we think about security. And if you were already using a point of sale, and you want to think about bringing on inventory, you want to think about how compatible the two systems are going to be. Are they going to be able to work together? Or are you going to have to put away the point of sale system that you were using and then get a complete suite because the one that you were using isn't compatible with the other activities, processes that you now want to incorporate into digital record keeping? So those are just some of the things that you want to think about. It's okay to do parts of it, digitalize parts of the business, but you have to think about, as you expand, how are you gonna incorporate the other functions, other activities into digital record keeping. That's what I have. With 5 minutes to spare.
No, that's perfect. Really, thanks very much for that. Again, maybe actually, yeah, again, the presentation will be available on YouTube and in the website, so you can refer back to the names of those software applications that Nicole mentioned in the presentation. Now on to our final partner who's presenting tonight. I would like to give the floor quickly, please, to Tonya Cummings from the Caribbean Export Development Agency, who is working on their Access to Finance program. Tanya, and by the way, before you start, Tanya, we've been answering the questions as we go through the presentations as they appeared. But for anyone that has any questions left, please can you put them in the Q&A now? And we'll try and get to them before the end of the session, but we're reaching very close to the end now. So think about your questions now. You have just 1 or 2 minutes to put them in before we run out of time. Thanks, Tonya. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Flores. Just give me 1 second so that I can share my screen with you. Okay, good evening. As Flores just said, my name is Tanya Cummins, and I work at Caribbean Export Development Agency as a financial assistant, access to finance. This evening, I am here to tell you a bit about our grants program, the Direct Support Grants Program, which was launched on October 22nd. So how this came about was in 2020, just after the businesses were affected by COVID, we launched a survey in collaboration with CDB, and we administered this survey to SMEs across the CARI Forum. So based on the results of the survey, we found that one of the biggest problems that SMEs had was access to finance. So who would have been aware of the previous grant programs we had? We had the Direct Assistance Grant Scheme, which was a reimbursable grant. But after the survey, we decided in response to COVID, we would design a grant to help the SMEs. So the objectives of the Direct Support Grants Program is to provide direct support to the region's SMEs on a non-reimbursable basis, to provide support to facilitate activities focusing on business continuity, to facilitate the increase of exports with the Caribbean and or international markets, and to capitalize on the benefits of bilateral or multilateral arrangements within the region or with ACP or EU partners. Now, to be eligible for the grant, applicants must be a sole proprietorship, partnership, or limited liability company. You must be operating or trading for at least 2 years, and this must be supported by the last 2 years' financial statements. Now, Nicole just did a very good job of showing you what the presentation of these financials should look like. So therefore, we're asking you to submit the last 2 years, which would be 2019 and 2020. We need the income and financial statements. These statements can be audited or unaudited. And finally, to be eligible, you must be from a CARI Forum member state, which is all of the states of CARICOM plus the Dominican Republic. Entities that are not eligible to apply include business support organizations, educational institutions such as universities, schools, vocational centers, etc., non-governmental organizations, including but not limited to human rights organizations, social clubs, associations, and charities. And any firm who would have received a grant under our 11th EDF program will not be allowed to apply for this grant. So this is only for new firms who have never gotten a grant within the last 4 years from Caribbean Export. Now we're going to have a look at some of the eligible projects. So the projects that are eligible under the grant is resource efficiency and renewable energy. So if you want to do solar panels or do some type of AC inverter units, this is the grant for you. We're looking at digitalization of businesses, where we're looking at technological upgrades, e-commerce, website designs. We're looking at marketing and promotions, which would include branding, packaging, design, brochures, virtual trade shows. We have building resilience, which would include research and development, market testing of new products or services. You can also purchase capital goods, but the capital goods must not exceed 50% of the grant amount and budget. You can also do certification, So if you want to implement regulatory standards such as HACCP, ISO, FDA, etc., these are eligible. Capacity building, you can execute training programs. And finally, protection of intellectual property rights, which would include registration of trademarks, patents, etc. Now, the minimum amount for the grant is 10,000 euro and the maximum amount is 30,000 euro. Now, how to apply? I'm going to share this link in the chat box after, but the application form and budget template must be downloaded from our website, and I'll share this link with you. When I share this link, you'll also get the guidelines, you'll get the procurement and disbursement procedures, you'll get to have a look at all of the annexes that would accompany the contract if you are awarded a grant. And this is the only source for the application form, so please make sure you use the right link and download the right form, because all other variations of the application will be declared null and void. Now, an applicant may submit one application for this call. Applicants are required to submit 2 copies of their application package in hard copy via courier or hand delivered to Caribbean Export headquarters. All application packages must be received at our headquarters in Barbados by the specified deadline date, which is currently December the 8th. So to accompany your application form, you also need to provide a copy of registration certificate or your certificate of incorporation, copy of the financial statements, as I just told you, the income statement and the balance sheet. And we also require the last 6 months bank statements. And this must be the company bank account and not your personal bank account. So failure to submit the required supporting documentation will result in the application being rejected. Now, the project implementation period is for 6 months. So let us say, for example, you were awarded a grant, and if the contract is signed by you, the beneficiary, on, let's say, March 12th, the implementation period of this project would be March 13th, 2022 to September 12th, 2022. I just told you again, the deadline for the submissions is December the 8th at 4:30 Barbados time. And I believe this has brought me to the end of the presentation. So if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat box. But in addition to that, if you need more information on the grant, you can send all of your queries to dsgpinfo@carib-export.com. We have a very responsive team, and I am sure that we will respond to your queries in a timely fashion. At this time, I want to say thank you to the European Investment Bank and Frankfurt School of Management for having us this afternoon. Back over to you, Flores.
Thanks very much, Tanya. So there you have it. There is an ongoing grant program available for existing businesses that have at least 2 years of track record. I think when it comes to startups, we've had quite a few questions about whether there's money available for startups. If I'm not mistaken, there are periodic programs that will appear targeting specifically startups. For instance, the MicroPitch competition is one where, you know, a startup would be eligible. It's just the grant prizes are not that substantial. But you need to keep an eye open of the websites of all the partners, which are on the MicroPitch Caribbean website. I believe Caribbean Export has had programs in the past, for instance, to support women entrepreneurship. I know Compete Caribbean has had some things to support startups. Generally, I can't give you a hard and fast rule about this. The particular program that Tanya was presenting is actually for businesses with at least 2 years of operations. And there will be a reason for that. Tanya, I don't know if you want to go into that now, but I think it's got to do with the fact that I suppose just targeting businesses which are have a track record and have some sort of level of financial sustainability. Tanya, is that correct?
Yes, correct. We don't have any. We had a program before, which we would have done in collaboration with the World Bank. which targeted startups. But at the moment, unfortunately, the only program we have running right now is the direct support grants program. But what I would say, I would advise everyone to just subscribe to our mailing list so that you would be able to keep abreast of any upcoming opportunities. So you can just go to our website at www.carib-export.com and subscribe to our mailing list.
Brilliant. And for specific questions on eligibility, the CEDA, the Caribbean Export Development Agency website is very detailed when it comes to eligibility. So I recommend, if you have a project, for instance, someone asked about a not-for-profit or about remodeling a barbershop, or what does rebuilding mean? Have a look on the DAGs section of the Caribbean Export website and just have a read through the requirements. It is spelled out. It's quite a lot of paperwork, but it is spelled out in detail there. Thank you, Tonya, for the presentation. And between Lisa and Tonya, I hope that we have inspired some of you to think about and apply for some of these programs to support your businesses, especially during these challenging times. Klaus, do you want to say something about the MicroPitch competition, please, which is taking place, still open for applications and taking place in December?
Yes, thank you very much, Floris. Definitely. We would like to share with you a few slides as well on the presentation for the second part of the event, which is actually the MicroPitch. Yeah, we said, let's say, the pitch event is partly the event where we have the training. Yeah, so it's a combined training and pitch event, and the MicroPitch is actually the event which come next. It's a platform, let's say, for you guys, let's say, to present, which means pitch your business, and we have attractive prizes waiting for the winners. We have already received a bunch of applications, but we are still open until November 28th, which is 10 days. So we have still some days to make up your minds, but really we invite you to join us as well in the pitch event and not only in the trainings. I guess we have been able to train you already. We know, let's say, that for some trainings, let's say, we have been maybe scratching the surface and get some knowledge to you. But as well, with the help of our partners, I guess we will it will keep getting better. And the pitch event is maybe something where we want to bring you to a next level. Yeah, so it's really something you have gained some experience and some knowledge in the trainings, but the pitch event will really bring you to a next level. How this, let's say, the benefits we see is that you will develop your skills, you will be able maybe to attract customers or new customers, and improve your public speaking skills. You see here some photos from our first event in November 2019, where this was still possible to do it really physically. Yeah? So we did it in the Dominican Republic. And here you see the photo on the upper right side, where we had, let's say, all our winners of the event. To the left, the lower left, now we see this was the second one, the second MicroPitch we did this year in the Dominican Republic, but this time we did it as a virtual event, as we will do it now as well in December. Yeah, so it's actually really an event which has always some tradition in the region, and we really want to see you there as well. Other benefits might be as well that you learn how to present your business. This is very important when it comes that you go to a bank and see how you have to present your business. We will train you. I will give you a little bit more of information on this later on. But this is very important, yeah? How you present your business to maybe a future shareholder, somebody who wants maybe inject some new capital in your company, or as well how you go to a bank and present your business and asking for a loan. You will be maybe as well able to increase your sales through the MicroPitch, because you will be able to reach out. Yeah? We will make promotion from you. You will gain maybe new customers, and this will hopefully as well increase your business. You will have networking with organizations, with other people around in the region. So you will definitely meet your peers there, and as well hopefully as well get new contacts through the event. The photo you see here is actually happened last week in Dominican Republic, where we had an award event providing the prizes, let's say, for the winners last week, with the officials from the ministries, from as well the United Nations Development Program, and other guys who supported us. How you can apply? Very easy. You go on our website, which we put in here, and we have as well put in in our documentation already. You go on the register now, where you find, let's say, two ways to apply. You can apply what you have done already to register for the trainings, and then on the right side, you will find, let's say, how you can apply for the MicroPitch business plan competition. Yeah, so you just put the bottom, and then you will jump into a form, which is number 3. So you have to just to fill in the form, which is easy. Yeah? It's a few questions on your business, your name, where you're based. Yeah, so it's not very sophisticated, and you can easily fill it out. And with this, you just apply for the MicroPitch. So please apply now. Yeah, we have still open, as I said before, until the 28th of November. And then we will have a review on all the applications, and we will select certain applications, and these will be the finalists. Nevertheless, we will invite all the participants for the MicroPitch who have registered for it and invite them to a pitch training. Yeah, how you can, let's say, convince to present your business in a pitch event, or for example for other occasions, as I said before, when you go to a bank or you talk to an investor, how you pitch your business. Yeah, so there will be the training on the December 9th, and you will be invited. We will divide it in 2 trainings. One is, let's say, free and open one, and the second one is, let's say, only for the MicroPitch finalists, which we have been then selected. And then on December the 16th, we will have the final event, the pitch night, and the selection of the MicroPitch winners. So please join us, come along, and we really would like to work with you as well in the future, the coming weeks, bringing you to the pitch in December. That's it from my side, Floris. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Klaus. So looking forward to receiving your applications for those of you that haven't applied yet, and looking forward to seeing you part of the MicroPitch training as well, and business competition. We're over time, but it's been such a valuable session. Thank you to our partners who presented today. Thank you, Nicole Doctor, for your excellent overview of financial statements and also about business planning and what are the elements of a business plan. Thank you, Frankfurt School, for the excellent presentation. We had one last question in the chat that we haven't been able to answer, which is what makes a business great? I would say there have been many books that have been written on exactly that topic, and I can only try and answer that and say probably it's you that's going to make your business great, by the passion you put into it, and hopefully the amount of good luck that you need to make it happen. We've been through over 40 questions today. I really want to thank everyone for their active participation in the chat and in the Q&A. We hope we've covered what your expectations were today. And right now, just to finish, we're just going to put up there's a link in the chat which you can click on if you want to get a certificate for the training. and also to provide feedback on what you thought about the training. And Lucy, I think you're going to put up a code as well on the screen, right? Which you can use your smartphone to link to that forum automatically if you find that easier.
Yeah.
All the best to you all. Thank you so much for joining us, and look forward to seeing you next time. There's the QR code for you. And again, if it doesn't work on your phone, just have a look in the chat and you will see there the link share.hsforums.com with a code behind it. You can just click on that and fill in the information there as well. Again, all the materials will be available on the MicroPitch Caribbean website. You can just Google that and the website will come up. And if you look also on YouTube, you can see MicroPitch CB. That's MicroPitch Charlie Bravo. There it is in the chat. And on YouTube, you'll be able to rewatch all the trainings we've given so far. Thank you for joining and all the best.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Good night.